Hello, good evening or good morning, wherever you're at. Um, yeah, so got a lot to go through today. There was a bunch of Epstein updates, got some Sascha Riley stuff to go through too, and also a bunch of craziness at Davos and yeah, the World Economic Forum in Davos, which is always something. But this year there was all sorts of stuff. Like they got evacuated because there was some kind of fire or something like that. I'm trying to okay, that works. I'm trying to pull my phone up so I can see the chat even when I'm browsing. And yeah, some other stuff like that. But first, before I get started, I wanted to share this video I've been working on. It's going to be the second full length like video essay. This one is about uh, government the government smuggling drugs. Basically, the CIA since their inception have basically been selling drugs, and this video is going to illustrate that. I started out with a story about Gary Webb, like just a short clip about him, because I think it was like a good hook to start with. And then after that, I start with pretty much the development of the CIA. I only have the first 2 minutes, but I think you can really tell how it's a lot different now that I'm working with Da Vinci. Let's see if we got this up. All right, cool. Let's see. His reporting laid out something that may surprise you. During the 1980s, cocaine had flooded into Los Angeles, fueling the crack epidemic that devastated communities across America. Webb traced that cocaine back to Nicaraguan drug traffickers who had direct ties to the CIA-backed Contra rebels. The money from those drug sales helped fund a secret war that Congress had explicitly banned. The series exploded. It was one of the first major investigations spread online, and the Mercury News website crashed repeatedly from the traffic. Many had long suspected that the crack epidemic didn't happen by accident, but now there was finally documentation. Congressional hearings and investigations were demanded, but that's when the backlash came. The Los Angeles. I gotta equalize the volume probably. This is as high as I could get it on here for right now, but I definitely got to fix that for the final. Insisting that Webb was jumping conclusions. They said he had overstated the case. His editors buckled under the pressure and published a retraction that Webb himself refused to sign. He was demoted, reassigned, and eventually pushed out of journalism entirely. In 2004, yeah, for some reason when I play it through the player like this, there's an echo. It won't be that like that when I release it on the actual page, though, for sure. This happened when I tried to preview the Cold War video too. Gary Webb's life ended under mysterious circumstances, and the details surrounding his passing are still debated to this day. 2 years before Webb died, the CIA's own Inspector General released a report that quietly confirmed the core of what he had written. The agency acknowledged that it had worked with drug traffickers, that it had blocked investigations, that it had looked the other way while cocaine poured into American cities. The report ran over 400 pages. It got almost no media coverage. So Webb was vindicated, but it didn't matter. His career was already destroyed, and his reputation wouldn't recover until long after his death. The Contra operation that Webb exposed was proven to be real, and it was barely scratching the surface. There was a clear pattern of alliances with drug traffickers that spans continents and decades and implicates the entire government. The pattern started in Marseille, France, in 1947. World War II had just ended, and the Cold War, which I recognize as World War III, was just beginning. The port city of Marseille was important to American interests because it was where American aid flowed into Europe. The docks were controlled by powerful labor unions, and those unions were dominated by communists. The CIA, which had just been created that same year, decided this was unacceptable. They needed to break the communist hold on the Marseille docks, so they made a deal with the Corsican Mafia. Okay? And that is what I got so far.
So pretty excited about how much I was able to do with that um, with that new program. Um, I feel like I should have worked on the last one with that, but I think it's cool that I'm showing progress between the videos. You know what I mean? Like, so I could look back and you know, yeah, I saw the comment about the make heaven crowded. Uh, I saw that. I posted that earlier. It's like, what is she planning? How many is she planning to take out? Hold on just a minute.
And you mentioned weapons and nuclear.
So, since I'm going to talk a little bit about the World Economic Forum and Davos, I figured we would just do a quick little background on it. I'm using DaVinci Resolve. It's free and it's really powerful. It's super complicated, but with a few tutorials, it ended up getting pretty. Uh, you know, I ended up getting the hang of it pretty easily. So this video, I haven't watched this in forever. Um, it has some interesting stuff in here, but let's see. I'm not sure if I should play it or just dig into the research itself. Uh, yeah. I think it's right here in the Wikipedia. Klaus Schwab. So this was the guy that founded the World Economic Forum. And his parents had moved from Switzerland to Germany during the Third Reich in order for his father to assume the role of director at Escher Weiss AG, an industrial company and contractor for the Nazi regime. Although his father was baptized Lutheran, Schwab was raised Catholic. Although he has 3 Swiss grandparents and 2 Swiss brothers, he is a citizen of Germany and he has declined multiple offers for naturalization from both Kurt Fulgeler and yeah, I can't pronounce German that well. But so that's an interesting point about this guy's background is that like his father was, a director at an industrial company that was tied to the Nazi regime. And I'm pretty sure that it went quite deep as far as they were moving around a lot. They were near um places where things were going down, these companies, and they provided some kind like legitimate material support for the regime. It wasn't just like they were in Germany at that time. So in 1971, Schwab founded the European Management Forum, which was renamed as the World Economic Forum in 1987. Also in 1971, he published Modern, yeah, that's German again. In 2003, Schwab appointed Jose Maria Figueres, CEO of the WEF, as his successor. In October 2004, Figueres resigned. So, yeah, let me find. In 2024, the Wall Street Journal reported allegations of sexual harassment and workplace misconduct against Schwab by former WEF employees. I didn't even know this. This was last 2 years ago. The allegations included claims that Schwab engaged in inappropriate conduct, discriminated against a pregnant employee, and ordered a mass firing of employees of over 50 years of age. Wow. The WAF denied these allegations, stating Schwab has never made advances towards an employee, calling them vague and false. Interesting. Yeah, I wonder who, I'm not even sure who replaced him. This is the Let me see. Just catching up. Yeah. Let's see who replaced him. Klaus Schwab had been the chairman of the WEF for 55 years, but stepped down on April 21st, the day of Pope Francis's demise. Peter Bregebuck, former CEO of Nestle, is the new interim chairman until a select committee selects a new chairman. So there isn't even a new leader yet, but this guy's the interim leader, and he's the CEO of Nestle, or former CEO of Nestle, which is not a very ethical organization from what I recall. I believe they'd be doing wild shit. I think it was like with water, and then huh? Yeah. Apparently. That's what That's what it says. Oh yeah, no, I'm catching up on the chat. I'm seeing good call. Was he the CEO during that time when they were in all that controversy for their practices and water charges? Yeah, that might be it. Yeah, I think that was it. Well, let's check out what was going on today at the World Economic Forum. Of course, there was a bunch of drama with Trump. This was posted. I'm not sure if this is normal. Like, it might be, and people are just posting it for clickbait, but like, he showed up. But that could just be how it always is, you know what I mean? But you would think there'd be some press. There was definitely protest though outside. And I would guess like Switzerland probably doesn't have. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He said that water shouldn't be a human right, that you should need to pay for everything. That's the guy in charge of the World Economic Forum now. I think they probably protest this every year, so that's what I'm sure there are people in the crowd who are like, fuck Trump, but I certainly don't agree with him. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure people be protesting that shit every year. There was some kind of fire though. I was seeing it was all going viral. People were all saying that there was smoke in there. And the first story that was kind of going viral online was that um that there was some kind of mist that was released, like a gas of some sort that was making people cough. And I feel like that was just, kind of clickbait to get people interested. And, because it ended up being that the smoke was making people cough from the fire. And it should have been relatively obvious, like if there was a fire. But let's see what the deal is, because I didn't really look into it that well. Fire services with specialized teams for smoke operations are now on the scene. It is thought the fire has since been contained. The fire brigade said the alarm has been fully contained and the fire has been completely extinguished after evacuating part of the convention center as a precaution. Like, that's weird. A bunch of weird stuff has happened over the past day with this Davos thing. Like, Trump's plane turning around in midair last night. A bunch of people thought that he was done, like it had happened. Yeah, you can see actually right here. There's another story about that. I'll click on that in a minute. It's like, what is it? How often does a fire happen at Davos? Emergency crews are now trying to determine the cause of the peculiar smell that is making people cough. So maybe something weird was on fire. According to reports, the fire broke out in a wooden hut near the hotel housing the conference center, triggering an evacuation. But yeah, so last night, Look at this flight map. Let's see. Hopefully that doesn't start. Right here. Is that what it looked like? I saw one that didn't even look this complicated. That's crazy. So yeah, I guess it took off from here. The president is now heading to the World Economic Forum in Switzerland? Yeah, so there was like this big false alarm where everybody thought that something was going on with him last night. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Everybody was wondering what was going on. Yeah, like I'm not sure. So yeah, there's that. And he was popping off about how he's a dictator. He actually did make it. It's like instead of him not making it, he did make it, and it was not great.
Good speech. We got great reviews. I can't believe it. We got good reviews in that speech. Usually they say he's a horrible dictator type person. I'm a dictator. But sometimes you need a dictator. But they didn't say that in this case. And no, it's common sense. It's all based on common sense. You know, it's not conservative or liberal or anything else. It's mostly, I'd say 95% common sense, and that's what we have. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. It's such an honor. And if we can ever help, you're going to let me know. And
he's out of control, man. Let's see.
Which we won. We won it big.
Oh yeah, this was
and then
when
after the war, which we won it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps.
And that was funny because he was in a place where they actually do speak German, and you know, yeah, he might have been. He really might have been messed up somehow, and just powering through it, so it didn't. Let's see, and then there was this. I don't know. Like I guess some of the protesters probably did that up on the mountain. And this was pretty good. This is Scott Bessent, his treasury secretary. I'm pretty sure he was like a banker guy before this. And here he talks about how, you know, you might be able to buy 5, 10, or 12 homes in your retirement. Like that's a normal thing.
The financial crisis, institutional investors hoovered up single-family homes. They continue to do it, and there's an unfair tax arbitrage there. You and I have a mortgage. We can deduct the mortgage amount. Institutional investors can deduct the borrowing amount, but they can also expense any repairs and depreciation. So we think that it is a good idea to have them out of the market. We are going to give guidance at some point to see what is a mom and pop that someone, maybe your parents for their retirement, bought 5, 10, 12 homes. So we don't want to push the mom and pops out. We just want to push everyone else out. And post the financial crisis, institutional investors hoovered up single-family homes. They continue to do it, and there's an unfair tax arbitrage there. You and I have a mortgage.
Yeah, so that is a little bit ridiculous. And this is the last clip I got from Davos, but it's always with the daddy thing. It's a very, very weird, weird thing with these people.
Europe, I'm helping NATO, and I've until the last few days when I'm about Iceland, they loved me. They called me daddy, right? Last time. Very smart man said, he's our daddy. He's running it. I was like running it. I went from running it to being a terrible human being.
Is that like something that you should be saying when you're under suspicion for you know, the kind of shit he's under suspicion for? Like, what? So I think probably I should get into the Epstein stuff before the Sascha Riley stuff. I think probably. Yeah. So there's this, of course. I'm sure you saw this. Republicans and some Democrats back contempt for the Clintons in House Epstein probe, which I'm not against it, but it's obviously like politically motivated because the Republicans kind of control the direction of how this is going at this point, and they kind of decline to put Bondi in contempt, which all of them should be. You know what I mean? Especially Bondi. So that's my take on that. Let's see what else we got here. This Epstein cover-up is in your face. On December 17th, 2025, Ghislaine Maxwell submitted a habeas corpus petition, which is a formal request to a court that demands a detained person be brought before a judge to determine if his or her imprisonment is lawful. Oh, yeah, speaking of her, she's going to be testifying soon. I have a story about that in a minute. Her habeas corpus petition stated that there were 4 co-conspirators and 20 who had secret settlements with Epstein's victims, but they weren't indicted. If Maxwell is telling the truth, the Justice Department could impel a grand jury next week and seek indictments against 4 co-conspirators and 25 men. Even if the Trump administration never releases one more document, the Justice Department has enough evidence and perps. Tragically, it is up to us as Americans to compel our government to do the right thing. So, yeah, this is highlighted here in this document. So, I think that she's definitely going to be asked about this when she goes in front of Congress, which is going to be soon from what I understand. Let's check it out. Ghislaine Maxwell to be deposed next month by House Oversight Committee. Let's see. Rep. James Comer of Kentucky, the Republican chair of the House Oversight Committee, said Wednesday that Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, will be deposed by his committee on February 9th through her attorneys, though her attorneys have indicated Maxwell will invoke her privilege against self-incrimination like she has every time, decline to answer the questions. So she's going to just say, like, I plead the fifth to every question, just like Epstein did. Let's see. Let me catch up on chat real quick. Kathy O'Brien called out her locals. Yeah, so Comer's remarks came during a House Oversight Committee hearing in which members were weighing whether to hold Bill Clinton and former Secretary Hillary Clinton in contempt. I agree we need to hear from Ghislaine Maxwell. So she's probably going to get up there and plead the fifth on everything except for saying that Donald Trump, you know, was fantastic and never did anything wrong. We've been trying to get her in for a deposition. I mean, I really wonder what is going to come of this. I would imagine nothing, but, you know, I'm trying to scan through here for anything relevant, because that's what I was wondering, if they've already confirmed that she was just going to show up, and because this is what we saw Epstein do in many of his situations where he was questioned. So then we got him continuing to file motions to prevent the release. This was just today. I know there was another thing about the Justice Department itself a couple days ago. This is a different filing than that. So while he's doing all of this crazy shit behind the scenes, he is pushing in various different ways to keep whatever is not released from seeing the light of day. President Trump is seeking to stop his own Justice Department from releasing a whole new set of files he'd rather keep from public view. Trump filed a motion seeking a court order preventing the Justice Department from releasing the second volume of special counsel Jack Smith's investigation into Trump's involvement in attempts to overturn. What does? Oh, that's a different situation. Well, they got me on the paywall. Let's see what else we got here. Got a whole list of Epstein stuff. This one I already looked through. How about this one? See what we got here. Paul Mellon appears to be on the Epstein flight logs. He owned Rockaby Farms and was traveling in the company of multiple females. According to Fortune, his son Timothy has given more to financially support Trump than Elon Musk. This certainly makes one wonder if Timothy Mellon wrote $125 million in checks to protect the family name, the elite protecting the elite. Reclusive billionaire heir Timothy Mellon gave $125 million to elect Trump, even more than Elon Musk. Paul Mellon. That is certainly something. Yeah, I mean, is that like Mellon? What is he an heir of? I know it's on the tip of my tongue. Timothy Mellon is an American businessman, the grandson of Andrew Mellon. Yeah, that's the name, Mellon Banking family. And he's apparently been a donor. Let's take a look at this guy. What's this most recent? Oh, okay. And he was one of the people. So he's been one of the people who's been not only helping Trump get into office, but also donating to these projects, probably the ballroom, the troop thing. Yeah. Let's see what we got. Search for Amelia Mellon donated $1 million to. What is this? Didn't Trump do something with that too? What is with that? Am I missing something there? Trying to catch up on chat. Let's see. He gave a lot to Bush and McCain and Romney too, though. So he's always been given to the Republican. He donated to AOC and Tulsi, which is a weird. I could kind of see it, I guess, but not with Bush and McCain and So yeah, I mean the fact that he is on the flight logs is definitely something. The fact that he donated to Trump, I'm not, not 100% sure I see the connection. It could be something there. 2010, Mullen donated 104. So yeah, he is big in. He donated $53 million in stock to the state of Texas to pay for construction of walls along the U.S.-Mexican border. So he's donated a lot to the MAGA PAC. And he he donated $130 million. Number of legal issues, nothing. Doesn't even say that he's in the Epstein files, but he is. So that's quite interesting. Let's see what else we got. This is not like really deep, but it's ridiculous. If you're familiar with the psycho Nick Fuentes, um, he recently on his stream or whatever said that Jeffrey Epstein was actually like probably a really cool guy, and you know, because he had an island and stuff, and so he's released this shirt that he's selling that looks like one of the shirts that Jeffrey Epstein was wearing in one of his pictures. So he's selling this, which is ridiculous. I can't believe some of the people in this world, uh, and the things that they like. I don't know how this guy has an audience and how there's that many people that can resonate with what that guy says and feels and stuff. It is pretty wild. So got another quick video here though. Hopefully, I think the volume is better on hers today because I could actually hear it on mine. But there's been an update on Epstein survivor Amanda Ngaro, who was deported by ICE in 2025. She was the ex-wife of that Poliv guy who is working with Trump, who was deeply involved with all of the trafficking that was going on. So let's check out this and see what these details are on here. These TikTokers have been really killing it with the research.
Information for you guys about the Amanda Ngaro and Paulo Zampoli situation. If you're behind, watch the playlist that this video is attached to. So as we know, Paulo Zampoli is the former modeling agent who brought Melania to the United States for Donald Trump back in the 90s and has been in business with Donald Trump since the 90s. They did the whole modeling agencies together. They did the whole real estate world together. Paulo's a United Nations diplomat. He was a part of the first Trump administration, and he is very involved in the current administration. Right, okay, we've been talking about this guy since July. We know. As you guys know, I recently made contact with Amanda Ngaro, and we are now in communication on a regular basis. We know Amanda Ngaro is the mother of Paulo Zampoli's child, who he began grooming at the age of 15 years old. She was a victim of Jeffrey's operation. She was on Jeffrey's plane at just 16 years old. We knew that she was on Jeffrey's plane at 17 years old, per the flight logs that were released by the DOJ in 2021. But since speaking to Amanda, she has confirmed that she was on Jeffrey's plane at the age of 16, earlier than we even realized. Amanda has known John Casablancas since she was 13 years old, and we know Paulo actually grew up with John Casablancas, and John Casablancas is the man who inspired Paulo to become a modeling agent. Amanda was a victim and witness to Jeffrey's operation. She has a lot of information about the inner workings of this operation. She was on Jeffrey's plane with Jean-Luc Bernard.
And they had her deported.
Now, she has a very unique perspective into this entire situation. And as we know and have been reporting on, in June of 2025, Amanda was wrongfully arrested and held in an ICE detention facility for nearly 4 months. After being held for that period of time, she was deported to Brazil without any kind of due process or trial. Amanda has a fantastic team of attorneys who are currently helping her get justice for her wrongful arrest, her wrongful deportation, and the parental kidnapping and alienation of the child that she shares with Paulo. Those are all ongoing proceedings, and on the 21st of this month, Amanda will testify in front of the Supreme Court of New York City. While acknowledging she has years of legal battles ahead of her, we hope that the 21st begins a series of wins for her and her future. With permission from Amanda's legal counsel, she has been given the permission to speak on a wide range of things that have happened to her and are currently happening to her. We can't talk about everything right now, but after some of the upcoming legal proceedings that she has, she will be able to say more. So I'm going to share with you some information that Amanda has given me permission and her legal team have given permission for me to share with you guys. What I'm about to share with you is Amanda's own words. So I'm going to be reading from a screen so I can make sure I say everything correctly. And if you guys want to like read this stuff yourself and see like receipts and everything like that, you can go over to my Substack. I've already laid it all out and it's published on my page. So I'm going to share this message from Amanda with you guys. And then after that, I'm going to go over a few different names of figures that Amanda has given me. And these are figures who are aware of what's going on within our government and are assisting Paulo in his quest to silence and seek revenge against him.
So these are names that she is giving of people who are in the Trump administration who know what happened with Epstein and are helping to currently cover it up.
Amanda. Okay, from Amanda Ngaro.
Oh, thank you, Zombie. You're so kind. Really appreciate it.
1/18/2026. This is not family drama. This is a criminal operation. I have witnessed many things since I was a teenage girl who became swept up in this nightmare. I have photos to prove the physical abuse I have experienced at the hands of Paulo. I have proof of his longtime substance use issues. I have information and proof of his fraudulent business dealings and millions of dollars worth of insurance fraud that Paulo has committed. I have proof that me and my family have faced harassment, threats, and blackmail from Paulo for years. I have information and proof of government and public officials being bribed by Paulo to date me when I was 15 years old, and it is true that I was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane as a teenager. I was only 16 years old the first time I was put on his plane. I have proof Paulo abandoned his own mother in a nursing home in Italy after stealing her jewelry and other valuable items. If a man can rip away his own mother's dignity without a second thought, you can imagine what Paulo is capable of. I faced a false arrest based on manufactured charges. I was forced to stay in an ICE detention facility for months before I was deported to Brazil, where I have been fighting for justice. My paperwork and history of work for the United Nations did not stop the government from treating me like an animal. For 3 years before I was wrongfully arrested, I supported myself and my son without financial assistance from Paulo. In the years leading up to my arrest, Paulo and I did not have a romantic relationship following an affair that he had in Washington, D.C. Paulo did call me his wife, and we were together for 19 years, but legally we were never married. During that time, Paulo was only a present father to fit his narrative and to appear to the public as a loving father. I did not keep our son away from him and allowed him to still see his father. I moved to Miami with my son to enter the workforce, really for the first time outside of my 10 years of work for the United Nations. My attempt to be independent and create distance between myself and Paulo enraged him, and everything got worse, especially when I filed for full custody. The court awarding me full custody would mean Paulo would have to pay years of unpaid child support and continue to financially support our son into adulthood. This was not something that fit Paulo's narrative, something he is desperate to control. I was being harassed relentlessly. My family and friends were harassed as well and even followed in some cases. Shortly after, I began working a job at a medical assistant training school that specializes in minimally invasive procedures. I was associated with a med spa in Miami. Many anonymous complaints began to flood in. The man that I arrested with was my romantic partner at the time and is now my husband. He is an awarded plastic surgeon of 30 years who conducts teaching seminars across the world. 3 months before being arrested and booked.
So they're like settling scores with ICE in their direct families that because I mean, most of the many of the people that they're involved with are immigrants themselves, ironically. And I think that there was somebody, I think it was like somebody even related to Caroline Levitt, or I think it was Caroline Levitt, like her sister-in-law or something was deported or detained by ICE. And there was something weird going on
In
there.
June, police showed up unannounced to our home. Police came into our home and took me and my partner out in handcuffs. We were thrown against the wall outside of our home because of the police presence. They were shocked. We were shocked. Neither of us have a criminal record, yet we were handled with extreme force, humiliated, and made a spectacle out of. We were humiliated. We waited for an hour for the police to get a search warrant. They destroyed our home and found nothing. The officers then went to my workplace and were there for hours. They confiscated equipment properly approved, lasers by regulatory agencies, medical documents, and patient records. They did all this searching for evidence of criminal activity that simply did not exist. Then June came and my partner, now husband, and I were arrested.
And it is like mobster shit to just go after people and then just try to find something. You know what I mean? That seems to be what they're pulling in many of these cases.
No one else from the training center or spa were arrested. I was picked up by ICE officers and taken to a detention center. No bail was possible. I felt so broken and confused. I remained imprisoned in that ICE detention center in Miami for 3.5 months, while increasingly absurd accusations were piled on and have yet to be proven. One of the charges placed against me included that I was practicing medicine illegally, which is an absurd lie that the state of Florida has yet to provide evidence to my legal team of. Nothing that my husband and I have been arrested for has been proven in court, yet I was deported without trial. I was not given the opportunity to prove that the charges against me were were fabricated. My fate was decided before they put the handcuffs on me. When I arrived in Brazil, I began the legal process of fighting for custody of my son.
So yeah, that just explains that about the legal battle she's been going through and everything like that. Which you know, it's it's good that we're hearing from her now. You know what I mean? Because before we were just looking into this story, and uh, I don't think anybody had really made contact with her. So it's great that some of these people were able to track her down and actually find out that she is doing okay, at least in currently, and trying to fight her case. This was another one from Juliet Bryant. She is one of the survivors, and she just posted this because this was one of the things I saved. They left her name off the flight log to the island, then added it on the way from. And she said if she had not complied, she would have died. And this says flight to Epstein Island. I guess because, yeah, it is with those people. Or at least J.E. and S.K. I'm not sure who that is. A.M. I don't think that says Andrea. And there are some interviews with her that I need to get to at some point. Here was another one that is kind of related. The House Ethics Committee found that Matt Gaetz did all of the horrible things that we all knew he did. And I guess that is this report. I'm not sure what is going to come of this because I don't think he is really in the government, but I guess this will make sure that he isn't at all. I don't know if he'll face charges though. I highly doubt that, especially in this current regime. So yeah, with that, I think I got a couple of Sascha Riley things too. Let's take a look at this. So I don't know what this is. I have to try to figure this out together. So okay, long story short, I was interested in the Tennessee connection with this whole story. And yes, Sascha Riley, for those of you who are just joining, is an alleged survivor who has a very, very graphic, terrible story that is currently being heavily debated. And I have a couple of different things today. Some that kind of show that it might definitely be possible, and then another one that's kind of a little bit more skeptical. But I think we should go through them both. But let's see what this property thing is. I've been curious. His adoption order is from Greene County, so I checked out the property records. Yup, William Riley and Mary Lynn bought a house there a couple years after they adopted Sascha. Reviewed the deed, and the part checks out. But that led me down some other property records for William Riley, specifically in Hampton, Georgia, where he and Mary Lynn lived in the late 1990s, early 2000s. Now, this is probably just one of those weird glitch in the matrix types things, but that house was eventually sold to a child assault nonprofit. Nah, that's weird. Not directly, mind you. I went through a couple of different transactions between Riley and the nonprofit, but what an insanely bizarre coincidence. I hope it is a coincidence. It has to be a coincidence. I'm going to bed before I have a full meltdown at 3 a.m., they say. That is strange for sure. Huh. How do I? Yeah, let's see what if anybody in the comments has disproven it or whatever. Well, is this the same nonprofit that owned by Representative Karen Mathiak? It was mentioned in Megan J's deep dive. It is. She listed as president. Okay, now what? That's crazy. And this is a different thing than what she was talking about, not just somebody who figured out the same thing separately. I wonder if it's the same property. Let me see. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that one. See how that one develops. Then there's this quick video that apparently like confirms some of Trump's health problems. This is I feel apparently some of these things have been said by the director of The Apprentice. And what some people are saying is that if it was untrue, he would have been sued by now. But let's check this out.
He's worn diapers since probably the 90s, but I saw it firsthand in the 2000s on Celebrity Apprentice in late 2000s, and we'd have to stop the show and change him, you know, and that was Keith Schiller's job. He would take him off set, he would wipe him down. Our nickname for Keith was Wet Wipes. It's not a joke. It's happened several times. And you've seen it happen while he's in office. You've seen he was in the Oval Office with Erdogan, and you could clearly hear him sort of evacuating himself.
Wow.
It is a great honor to have President Erdogan.
Oh my God, bro. What?
Did you guys hear that? I'm scared.
He did it in front of Senator Feinstein, Dianne Feinstein, at a press conference.
So today we're here in a bipartisan fashion to show leadership in an effort to end the senseless violence.
So he does it, and he almost sits there like and unaware of it, you know. And one time,
this guy was not introduced, and he didn't introduce himself, and it isn't introduced to him in the post, but I'm assuming he's somebody who worked on The Apprentice or something like that.
I saw Ivanka have to go kind of whisper in his ear, and then Keith came and took him off stage. He'll also do it in a rage. He'll start to freak out. You know, one time there was the word arbitrage on a cue card, and he started screaming that the script department was setting him up. You're setting me up. And he just freaked out and then very loudly evacuated his bowels, and you could smell it, you know, and the guy who was holding the boom mic, you know, was tearing up. So that's where the nickname, the SHIT show, came from. That was the crew nickname for Celebrity Apprentice. So when you hear Diaper Don, it's not a joke. He tries to hide it. I'll give you one more fact. If you look up the video of him when he was doing the WWF thing, he tackles a guy on the ground outside of the ring, and you can clearly see the outline of the Depends in his pants. And that was back in the early 90s.
Wow.
So he's lost control of his bowels. He's lost control of his brain. That's who he is, Diaper Don.
That's pretty wild. I will say that I would like to know who this guy is, though. Is it the full that's the is there anybody in the comments here saying who this is? I'm guessing it's somebody who worked with him on The Apprentice. I would like to know that. So there's also been this Substack that was published like 2 hours ago or something like that, or earlier today. Their findings are basically inconclusive. I skimmed the end, and they said that, you know, it still could go either way, but they're leaning more towards no. I hadn't looked at their evidence yet, or what they had found, but I want to go through it and see what that side is, because I've been in the situation where I was super skeptical at first, just because of how extreme everything was, and you know, it was so much different than all of the other stories that we've heard. So I mean, I was still giving it the time of day. You know, I was still open to it, but I was skeptical. But then the more that I looked into it, the more I had really started to think like maybe this is actually a maybe this is a thing. But let's see what some of the other. Yeah, there is a lot of good investigation on Substack, and this seems really detailed. I'm not familiar with this writer Ellie Leonard, but she's done a lot of research. So let's see. It's written kind of like in a narrative form, so I want to try to skip through to the good parts. Um, let's see. I started to search. We're in the middle of the page, and that's sending the woman my questions along the way. Had taken place mostly in Oklahoma, Sascha said, but I could find no record of Epstein or Trump ever visiting Oklahoma, nor did they have friends or colleagues who lived there. Trump had spent more time there since campaigning for president, but prior to 2015, he'd never visited, at least on the record. Yeah, isn't it weird though? Didn't the Dan Furry guy say something about Oklahoma? I had issues with his story, but I still hadn't ruled it out. But I feel like he might have said something about Oklahoma. Um, Regardless, some of the things that we were talking about before, like it's a possibility that they had a nationwide network that was in all 50 states that they kind of oversaw. Um, I live in the same town with his parents live in Edmond. Look at some of Jay. Yeah, no, we've been looking at Jay Megan's stuff all week. She's awesome. I subscribed to her on stream the other night. I'm just catching up on chat. Which channel seems like? Okay. Oh, okay. Filling me in on the writer. So yeah, I started seeing the search, sending let's see. And what about the witnesses? Who else could I talk to corroborate Sasha's story? They're all dead, she said. Trump and the other men killed them all, and Sasha is the only one who escaped. Yes. So she's talking to the interviewer. I told her that makes a tough story if we have no way to verify anything that happened, or the location, or the records. Yeah, I know, she said, so we'd have to skip over that part, at least for now. I began to look into the genealogy part I could verify. At the time, there were some documents floating around, though I'd get more in the coming months, including one where Epstein mentioned the name William Bill Kyle Riley is the man Sasha says adopted them in 1977, something we'll talk about in just a minute. And while the time of my conversation with the women Epstein's email hadn't surfaced, there was mention of Riley's connection to Epstein as an investigator and also his work as a pilot. So yeah, that was the one thing I missed the other night, where I was thinking that because he was an investigator and talking about an investigator, that wasn't the same person. And it seems like that is actually a clue that it could be the same person. And it points in that direction, actually. Let's see. Yeah, I want to know who Cohen hired to check up on Jane Doe's address too. And I think that Cohen probably was one of the people who had her intimidated, and that's one of the reasons why he's acting so much like he's got something to hide. Have been adopting young men and not really adopting them. There is something weird with that too. I didn't know that Mike Johnson was all involved in that too. It doesn't surprise me. So William Bill Riley is the former FBI agent and investigator hired by Epstein to follow and harass young survivors during the 2006-2008 case that ended with his sweetheart deal. But this was William John Riley, and according to the Washington Post, he died in 2011. This Bill Riley was a Bronze Star in the Korean War. He'd been married to Janice Sue Benninger Riley since 1963, lived in New York State, had 2 children, William Edgar and Nancy. He worked on the private investigator for the office of Corelli and Riley PIs. The William Kyle Riley, named and linked in Sasha's social media post, is a 76-year-old resident of Georgia. Since researching this information, his Facebook page has been taken down. So this is this guy. He worked for the Emergency Sky Care Incorporated as an air evac and in help supply services as a pilot. I was unable to find a record for how long he had been married to Cindy Riley if they have children. A third woman is connected to William Kylie Riley through Sascha, listed as the elder Riley's wife on Sasha's adoption papers. Her name is Irene U. Riley, and the only alias I could find online is Irene U. Peer of Texas. I cannot verify that this is the same person, and there doesn't appear to be any record of connection between her and William Kyle Riley. At some point in their history, they both lived in Texas, but several miles apart. I cannot find a record of a marriage or children. There is also rumor she may go by the name Irene Uliski. Again, this was unable to be verified. Okay, so the woman Sascha says is his mother and who adopted him alongside William Kyle Riley, which doesn't match the adoption papers, is Marie Lynn. I thought the adoption papers were legit. We'll have to see what this says. Also listed as Lynn Riley in searches. She was married to Robert Matjeka from 1962 to 1980 and has 2 children. Not sure why this is relevant. While one of her last names is listed as Riley, and she does come up with as a relevant William Kylie Riley in background searches. There is no record of their marriage. Okay, like I feel like records way back then are probably tough. And there also are a lot of people, especially back then, who just called themselves married. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's not a whole lot to go on based on the document, which I enhanced so we could read it a little bit better. Writing on the back page is visible, though illegible. On the paper, it again lists William Kyle Riley and Irene U. Riley as the adopted parents. Let's see. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. All she's reporting on stuff that she can't find. But there was some like medical stuff. Hold on, like this that I want to get to. It kind of did some research on the injury situation and how that would work. And I'm kind of curious about that. So she says they were adopted for the purpose of trafficking, but began when they were 6, which would then make that late 1979. Sascha was born in June 1973. These are minor discrepancies that don't invalidate the story. She says they were taken within the Trump Epstein ring from 9 to 13 years old, which would put us somewhere between the summer of 1982 and as late as spring 1987. All right, so let's see what this is. According to most anatomy books, okay. I'm trying to see. Let me just read this and silently. And so it's saying the arteries sit anywhere from 2 to 4 inches in on that area of the body you know we're talking about. The superior arteries are closer to 6 inches. A major puncture of any one of these arteries can lead to hemorrhagic shock and death if not treated quickly. A punctured bladder leads to sepsis. A traumatic puncture leads to, ED, which he might have. At the end of her talk, the woman sent me a document that she'd said mailed in the House Oversight Committee Wyden's office. It was a list of in-progress corroborative evidence they still needed to find to prove their case. This included, we read through this before. This was the witness testimony. These were on the other side. evidence that didn't exist yet that could exist, basically. So, you know, there are and actually this one was confirmed. A 2009 Fort Carson military investigation report of a fellow soldier for bad pictures of children after watching films of another child. So that ended up whoever the sergeant was in that case, who was there when the film was discussed, has confirmed that he remembers that discussion. So yeah, that's all that was. This was hyped up online like it was but I mean, it's a fair amount of research, but I don't think it matches a lot of the stuff that we've gone through today or the stuff that Jay Megan has put out. For sure. Let's see what else we got. Let me catch up on chat too. Yeah, and if he had to be airlifted out, then yeah, you do have to get that done quick. It is a wild story. But some of the things that do line up are so bizarre that why else would they line up? You know what I mean? And why would this random guy know about Trump's bowel issues? Because I don't think that was common knowledge, until he started talking about this. So yeah, I think that because of the fact that they aren't releasing it, the files, it's going to continue to get more it's going to be easier for the wildest stories to seem plausible because of how wildly they are trying to cover everything up. But I'm always careful to, even though I am very I'm not sure what the word is, I'm somewhat convinced, I guess, that this could be a possibility, but I'm not totally sold. And there is always the possibility that there is just some people out there who definitely have suffered abuse and are also mentally ill a little bit. What was the person that wanted to assassinate Reagan and it wasn't for any political reason, it was because actress told him to, and he was he was convinced by that, right? Am I remembering that correctly? I'm trying to look that up, but I think it was something like that. If the person that shot Reagan was just kind of mentally disturbed and thought that one of his favorite actresses from the television was telling him to take out Reagan. Yeah, was that it? John Hinckley, maybe. But either way, if it was today, I feel like people would probably be yeah, there was it would be a different kind of fantasy that they would have, is what I'm saying. It would be based on whatever was kind of in the ether at the time. And I feel like it's not unusual to imagine that somebody who is mentally ill, who has gone through abuse, would project their situation onto other things that were happening in the world. I'm not saying that that is the situation. I'm still really up in the air on this because of the things that do line up are just so weird. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I think that was all that I had though, but let's go through and see if there's anything else on the did we look up that Paulo guy, Paulo Zamponi on the Epstein file list? Let's see. Nope, not yet anyway. Catch up on chat. Yeah, I think I might be let me just see what we got. Yeah, I think the whole gastro doctor thing is very strange. That unless he somehow knew about that and could make up the story. I'm just like playing devil's advocate. If he could if he somehow could know, because I don't think that that was common knowledge about Trump. Uh but he is like the way that he is trying to cover this up. There's got to be something really really crazy in there. Um and I just I don't know if it's ever going to see the light of day. At least during his administration. And I feel like the this reality that we are in with him, it's so hard to even know what's going to happen tomorrow though. You know what I mean? Um so I have I have a hard time predicting. And that's one of the reasons why I try to do a lot of the live research on here and just not come at these situations like I already know the answer to everything. Can you get copies of Palm Beach high schools? I will show you something. Copies of Palm Beach high schools? What do you mean, like their yearbooks or something like that? Um but yeah, like in my many years of paying attention to things, I've been wrong like many times. So I try to like always keep an open mind, you know, even with my own ideas, except for when it comes to my values. When it comes to my values about human rights, that won't change, and that's what drives uh all the work that I do. But um when it comes to specific facts and things like that, is something true, is something not true, I am very agnostic a lot of times about that kind of stuff. um but yeah, and yeah, the way that the doctor died under mysterious circumstances, the way it was rated. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to look up. This guy Keith Schiller. What's this guy? Let's see. What's he discuss in this video? No, that's not interesting. Trump bodyguard Keith Schiller testifies Russian offered Trump women, was turned down. So this is the guy they call wet wipes, apparently. I mean, this was somebody on The Apprentice said it. That's some shit right there. And the way that the things that are being described, this was 2017. Check out his Wikipedia. I'm always checking out Wikipedia, man. In the Navy, police. Donald Trump hush money trial. On May 7th, 2024, Stormy Daniels testified that Schiller approached her in 2006 to invite her to dinner with Trump. Daniels alleges that she had an encounter with Trump later that day. Keith Schiller. I know I've heard the name before, but LinkedIn. He's got his LinkedIn on there. Scroll down, look for Keith's name on this page or on the NBC page or the Wikipedia. Which one? Republican National Committee. Yeah. Well, that is definitely an interesting angle. I want to find out who that guy was in that video. It seemed like he was somebody from The Apprentice. I would like to do like some kind of facial recognition on that guy or something. Figure out who the hell he is. Or like who were let me see, guy on Apprentice says Trump wet wipes. Let's see if something comes up. Wet wipes. Apprentice staffer Noel Castler. See, look, we got a this seems like the guy. Yeah, this looks like the guy. He's a little bit older, I think, in the I don't know if that's the guy we watch. He with a beard, I could kind of see it. Huh. Not sure. Sorry about that. I accidentally hit the back instead of let's see. This is where I was at. I totally got out of the studio for a second. Yeah, it looks like somebody different. Apprentice staffer? Two years ago. This guy claims that Trump is very high on Adderall all the time. And combined with his diet at McDonald's results in him. Okay, so this was former, but Sascha has been talking about this for more than 5 years. Let's see. That's a 20-minute video. I probably can't get through that without. Yeah, it's not even a. So, wow. Apparently, this talks about Trump having bowel issues and wearing diapers. This was, at least 2 years ago. I seem to remember Bob Woodward making a comment insinuating something along the lines of Trump shitting himself on a regular basis. The girdle and Adderall both seem super believable. Melania being in charge is the only thing that seems questionable. I mean, I believe in the relationship, but I would be a little bit weird if that includes business ventures and political career as well. That's what a commenter says. But that's interesting that it isn't like totally new news. Wow. So this was 5 years ago. So I guess he's kind of grown. He's grown a beard and stuff. It makes sense that he looks a little bit different.
The diapers.
So this was the thing we were watching was 5 years ago. November 27th, 2020. Let's go back and look at Sasha Baros's first post about the thing. Now, it wasn't on Threads, it was on Facebook. Let me see if I could find his Facebook again. Oh, wait. I think their first post was 2021. That doesn't discount it, but it does mean that it was public information at the time. Not public, but it was out there in the ether that he had you know, he potentially had those issues. Yeah, like I said, I haven't made my mind up yet one way or the other. But I think it's legit enough to look into and to talk about. Um, and I don't think that just because a couple of details are out of line that like means anything. I think that over the years, it's very easy for details to slip through. I remember when I was writing my memoir, I was so wrong about many details. Luckily, I did a bunch of research and I had flyers for events and stuff that, you know, shook my memory and made me realize, like, oh, and then when I talked to different people about things, it brought it back. So it makes sense that people would get years and things like that mixed up. Um, but yeah, I still think it's this is definitely only gonna get bigger, I think, of a deal. I I'm pretty sure Trump's probably already heard about this. You know what I mean? Like, he already knows. If he didn't, regardless, he knows that this is being said. So there is that. What Epstein say? I'm 90% there. He's the dog that hasn't barked. Yeah, exactly. Oh, so my memoir is Paper Squares and Purple Stars, My Life as a Rave Outlaw, right here. I used to throw raves back in the day, from like 2008 to 2012 was my main stretch where I was actually quite successful, which is where the book was about. I tried to make 2 comebacks since then that were not super successful because the scene has changed and gotten very corporate. I was doing underground events and stuff back in the day, and I was involved with a club that got busted, and the book is kind of all about that. Uh, Paper Squares and Purple Stars, My Life as a Rave Outlaw. Yeah, I can type it in the chat. But yeah, it's an interesting, even if you're not into that kind of thing, I think it's an interesting story. And I got a couple of other books too. And I have a sequel to this coming out, actually. It's more focused on my time in independent journalism in the like early internet blogging era and the kind of fringe social movements that have kind of grown up since through the internet since those days, and the directions that some of them have went in. But I'm like pretty much finished that sequel. It's just, oh yeah, I remember Disco Biscuits. They used to play Starscape like every year, which was this festival that was in Baltimore that they don't do anymore. But yeah, I remember them. And then All Good was another big festival out here. I don't really go out much anymore because the scene here is I was behind the scenes so long, and like I write about it, but there's drama, you know what I mean? And there's like people that are kind of scumbags running the scene in the area, and I don't want to support them. The second book has a lot about that. Yeah, I really when the back in the early days of Facebook and even MySpace, I really thought that the internet was going to bring us all together. And yeah, I have seen that bits and pieces of it. I remember watching it, but I can't remember I remember watching it, but I can't remember the entirety of it. Um, yeah, I just I was so optimistic. I thought that it, because before then, the information that people had access to was very limited, and I just thought, oh man, like everybody's gonna realize how much our society sucks and how much we need to change it, and how much, like the world needs to be a better place, and really, it made things. I don't know. Nowadays I'm less optimistic, and I feel like it's driven us apart in many ways, or it's amplified voices of some of the most toxic people among us, and that has been an unfortunate thing. So it's like there's all these trade-offs that have happened, that you know it's yeah, I'll be 40 next week. So, I've been getting a bunch of comments about like, there was one guy yelling at me thinking I was really young, and I was like, "Thank you. That's the nicest thing I heard all week." Um, but yeah. And then there was a couple of other people who said they thought I was young too. So I was like, "Hey, that's awesome." But yeah, it's I've been around a while, at least I got into activism after the Iraq war and the financial crash of 2008. That was kind of what pushed me into activism and using the internet to share my thoughts. And then when I was doing the rave thing and the club got shut down, I started, doing a lot of activism around drug legalization and things like that. So, um, and then that led to what I'm doing now essentially. Uh, but I do a whole bunch of different things. That's awesome. We got a diverse crowd in here from all over the world, all different ages. It's pretty cool. I dig it. Yep, that's what's up. Well, it's been great hanging out with y'all. Unfortunately, we gather around the depressing, terrible shit that's happening in the world. But I really do feel like it helps me maintain my own sanity. Kind of having a community to look through this stuff with, um, and try to stay informed and hopefully try to figure out how to make some change at some point. But yeah, it really helps out if you could subscribe. Getting started over here on video after doing my writing thing for a really long time, and I'm having fun with it. I'm glad that I started. So subscribing goes a long way. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that because uh, I have this, it's weird. I, I do have hope for the future, but not as much as I did, and I feel like now, um, I just kind of want to reverse some of the bad, instead of trying to create something utopian, which was my thoughts in my early 20s, is like we could do all this utopian shit. And now I'm just like, let's just save the fucking vulnerable people right now, you know? Um, that's that's the kind of situation that I've gotten into. And then we can worry about the utopian building stuff. But yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow, and please find me on social media if you think that there's a story that I should be covering. I am open to it. It definitely helps me out. I've gotten some good tips so far, so please feel free. And yeah, I appreciate that, zombie. I try to be. It's like, why not? You got to be human in this world. At least try to be. It's going against the grain, against the stream, but yeah, well, I hope you all have a good night or a good day, depending on where you're at in the world, and peace out.